What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. A little bit of a different background today, just having some internet issues. So, this is the way I got to do it for right now until those issues are resolved. But since we are in a new background, let's talk in this new background about the movie Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I think that's how you say his name. I know he directed Suspiria, Call Me by Your Name. Um, what was that other one with Timothy Chalamet, Bones and all? This stars Zendaya, Jack O'Connor, and Mike Foist. Tennis player turned coach Tashi has taken her husband Art and transformed him into a world famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she signs him up for a challenger event close to the lowest level of pro tournament, where he finds himself standing across the net from his former best friend and Tashi's former boyfriend. I haven't watched much of Luca Guadagnino's movies. I've only seen Suspiria, and I thought Suspiria was only okay. If you're one of those people who's looking for Guadagnino to deliver on some spiciness, sexiness, and steaminess, well, this movie is very spicy, sexy, and steamy. So I guess you could say you have come to the right place in that regard. Here, I think he brings a lot of energy to this movie. The movie's really put on the back of the performances and just a lot of other things too. He does a lot of other things that are really, really good in this movie. I love all of his editing. His editing is so unique and it's interesting. There's so many different angles that he uses with the camera. There's so many different styles he uses. For instance, there's a shot looking up from the ground, almost like a top down shot, but I guess you could call it a down top shot where it's supposed to be in the ground, but you can see through the ground as somebody's bouncing a tennis ball. It added a lot of flavor to the tennis scenes, which I thought were handled really well. There's really great bass and drum music, of course, by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. I mean, Nine Inch Nails themselves. I'll get into the music a little bit because there was something that did annoy me with the music, but in these scenes, I thought it brought a lot of energy to the tennis scenes because I wasn't really sure what to expect from somebody who's never directed sports scenes before in a movie. At least, not to my knowledge. I have no clue if he's done it in any of his other movies. The stylistic flavors in there made the tennis matches more intriguing than probably what would happen in a standard biopic or a fictional drama about tennis. I think he adds a lot of flavor. There's some slow mo in there, the top down sequences, these edits that cut away from the main narrative. Had this movie structured fairly weird, and I know that people are going to complain about that. And the people next to me actually walked out of the theater saying, I didn't really like that. I didn't like the way that that was filmed. And I'm like, no, you just didn't like the way it was edited or structured because it's a non-linear structure. We cut back and forth so many times from different time frames to time frames. Some are even yesterday. Then we go back 13 years, which was kind of weird since everybody kind of looked the same. But you go back to different time frames, and I actually like this idea of framing this story like this. It's not your conventional way to frame a story, and I actually think that that was a better way for this story to play out and to give us character development for these characters. All of these characters are some of those characters that at the end of the movie you don't like. You're not really rooting for any of them, but they're so good that they're unlikable good characters. And cutting back and forth, but from the present back to the past, back to the present, back to the past, it has so much character work in there. And you can see where everybody is coming from their standpoint and their viewpoint of how things are going to play out and who's manipulating who. It makes for a fun way to learn about these characters. It makes for a compelling way to learn about these characters, and it makes their unlikableness even more unlikable, but you know deep down that these are fleshed out characters. There's a difference between having a character that's unlikable, that's not fleshed out, but then having an unlikable character that you think is really good, and you know that by the end of the movie you don't want to root for them. Those are all three of these characters in this movie. That's how I felt towards the end. And Zendaya really brings it. This is her best work to date. No doubt about it. She is fucking phenomenal in this movie. I cannot wait to see her do more dramas like this. I mean, she was really good in Malcolm and Marie, a movie that I did not really like, but she's proven that outside of Spider-Man, and I know that she has a background in Disney, she has proven that she has this talent in her. And she is really, 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 really riveting in this movie. I every time she was speaking, I was glued to the screen. When she was on screen, I was glued to the screen as well there. The other two actors, Mike Feist and Jack O'Connor, also excellent in this movie. And what they have to play with the script sometimes is some certain overtones. When they have to play into those overtones, they do a really good job too. I guess my main issue with the movie is some of the score. I was thinking about it as the movie went on. It happens more so in the third act, not so much the first two. I thought it was fine in the first two, especially seeing this movie in Dolby. But it did feel like Christopher Nolan was directing this movie at one point. And what I mean by that is that the sound effects and the music were overtaking the dialogue, what the characters were saying, and the dialogue was hard to decipher and hard to hear at times. And I just was like, dude, Trent Reznor, I know, man, you got 9 Inch Nails, Hand That Feeds, forever your best song. But man, can you tone it back a little bit, please, so I can hear what these characters are saying? And there were a few moments of that in the third act. I wasn't gonna point it out if there was only one instance of that happening, but it was multiple times. And the dialogue was just drowned out by so many sound effects and such loud music. Obviously, it's in Dolby. It did hinder a little bit of the scenes and the impact of the scenes because I couldn't hear what they were saying. I don't like when things get drowned out like that, and I don't think it was by design. I think somebody just cranked the bass up too much when editing the music in the background, and it just really took away from a few impactful scenes. But Challengers is, I think, my favorite movie of the year so far. It's other than that issue, it's a damn good movie with great tennis sequences, intriguing love triangle, really, really frenetic, fast paced editing with performances that had me hooked for the whole movie. I will say you will enjoy Challengers with a full bucket of popcorn. So if you have seen Challengers, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.